Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another episode in my series recapping and reviewing every single book in the Animorphs series. Today, if I'm correct, we are on Animorphs 37. This is the last instalment before Animorphs August, where we will be reviewing one book every week for the month of August, so stay tuned for that, or subscribe if you really don't want to miss it. Animorphs 37, The Weakness. This is a Rachel book, and we have a new morph on the cover, which I do know what it is now. At the time of writing, I was not sure if it was a leopard or a cheetah, but my guess was cheetah, but I've read the book now, so I know what it is. But what do you think? Can you identify the big cat? Let me know. Rachel begins the book by telling us she is unlike any other Rachel she knows, fictional or otherwise. Sometimes she wishes she was a bit more like the ordinary Rachels, who have never experienced almost dying or having to fight in a space war against parasitic slugs. This particular train of thought gets interrupted by Axe expressing that since Jake didn't leave any particular instructions for who should be in charge while he's away visiting relatives, they should probably not do anything in his absence. Tobias actually agrees with Rachel that they don't get to pick and choose when they do things. There's an opportunity to act, they need to act now. What is that opportunity? Well, by chance, Tobias has stumbled upon one of Visser 3's feeding sites. It changes frequently enough that they haven't been able to locate it for a while. We did find one a few books back, probably like 10 books back now, where we did the rattlesnake thing. Marco's with Rachel as well, even telling Axe he can sit this one out if he fancies. They know Axe has this whole Prince Jake thing going on, but Axe somewhat reluctantly agrees to go ahead with it, and Cassie, though she'd rather wait for Jake, says she'll go along too. But Cassie does know the perfect morph for this plan, and it just so happens they've had some of them delivered to the gardens very recently, and this answers the question about what's on the cover. It's cheetahs. I grinned. This was cool. The bad missions I hate, but I'm never happier than when starting out on an important mission, especially one that was going to be so easy. Definitely not jinxing anything there. They head on out to the Visser's latest pasture in Birdmorph, typical start of an Animorph's plan. Their superior bird vision spots the Visser's blade ship as the cloaking falls away. They land, demorph, get to Cheetah, and Rachel marvels at how the body of this animal really is built for speed. This mission would count. This mission would matter. This time they would bleed. Cheery, happy things for teenagers to be thinking. Visser 3 steps out of the blade ship and the four Animorphs pounce, aiming to take Visser down before the Hawk-Bajirs can even get to their Draken beams. Tobias calls go and Rachel leaps out of the cover of the grass, aiming for the Visser. They manage to get the Visser down, but cheetahs, alas, built for speed are not built for endurance, as anyone who has watched an animal documentary will know. And an Andalite is somewhat hardier than a gazelle. As they chase the Visser through the field, they now also have to dodge those aforementioned Draken beams, but it's gonna be alright, they're faster than them. But they are getting tired awfully fast. Marco's hit by a Draken beam, one of the Hawk-Bajirs decides the Draken beam isn't enough and decides to join the fight, and there's no way the cheetahs stand a chance against those knife arms. I slunk rapidly away from my attacker, blood streaming into my eyes, saw Marco and Axe and Cassie valiantly defending our prey, the Visser, and falling, panting, practically dragging themselves along the torn-up ground to avoid another Hawk-Bajir swipe. We were losing! And then Rachel finds herself hit by something, which she describes as kind of being a blurred cartoon depiction of speed. My analogy, not Rachel's, I think it's like when they show the Flash running in TV shows. And then the creature, whatever it is, stops so that we can have a description of it. 4 lanky, skinny legs, a thin but strong-looking tail as long as its body that flicked and twitched even when the creature's legs weren't moving, a pigeon chest high and rounded, a head shaped like a custom-made aerodynamic bike racing helmet, tight curved face like half a smooth ball, skull that swept back from the rim of this ball into a pointy triangle, like an ice cream cone on its side, except the cone was flattened. But what really caught my attention was the fact that this thing was covered in blue fur, and had no mouth, and sported 2 thin, weak-looking arms, like an Andalite. Like Axe. Look, in the last book we encountered a whole mutated species of humans living underwater. Anything could happen at this point. They cut their losses and bail, demorphing, getting to bird, and then flying away while listening to the not-so-private thought speak of the Visser and the speedy creature. Just so you know, the speedy creature speaks in incredibly fast run-on sentences that are basically just written as all the words smushed together, kind of like how I talk if I'm not trying to struggle to read my notes on camera. I'm gonna read them normally because else I will not be able to. A pathetic display, Visser 3. You are chased down on a planet you should long ago have conquered. This will go in my notes, you can be sure. Is Visser 3 having an inspection? I am excited. My camera battery's going to die. Right, okay. Visser 3 holds it over the inspector's head that whoever he is, he has not yet been allowed to join the council. I have been given a specimen of our newest and most capable host species, the Garrotron. I will not fail to be promoted. Rachel, despite the exhaustion, makes it to Eagle Morph. They agree to set off one at a time with her going last and make it to the barn. She wants Tobias to go first, but he offers to wait for her. The romance, it's right there. Some time has passed and we're in the barn, because of course we are. They quiz Axe as to whether the Garatrons are related to Andalites. He doesn't know, or if he does, he isn't answering. What he does know is that the Andalites are not going to be happy the Yeerks have infested yet another creature. We're missing something here, Tobias said. I don't know about other Garatrons, but the Inspector, the Yeerk, is very intelligent. That much was obvious. And he and the Visser were antagonistic, that was clear too. The Inspector mentioned notes. I'm betting he's here to observe Visser 3, make and submit a progress report on the invasion of Earth. So, this revelation leads them to conclude that they should maybe leave the fact that the Garatrons exist as something to deal with when Jake gets back, and just focus on ruining this inspection for Visser 3. Rachel's plan is a smear campaign, making it seem like there are far more Andalite bandits on Earth than they thought there were. They hit all the controllers they're aware of, and they hit them in public places. And they need to strike while they know the Inspector is around and inspecting. They need to do this today. Marco would rather wait until Jake's back because this seems too dangerous. But Rachel's adamant it won't be. They'll be in and out so fast it won't have time to be dangerous. Definitely the case. Tobias is also not certain this is going to be as easy as Rachel thinks it's going to be, and he really doesn't want anyone to be stuck in morph and tortured. I wonder why, maybe because it happened to him fairly recently. I agree with Marco and Tobias, Cassie said, opening the door of the squirrel's cage. It's a good idea, but for a fast series of relentless attacks, we need someone calling the shots, and Jake does that better than anyone. Jake's not here, I grumbled. Indeed, and I feel like this was on Jake to nominate a second, even just for a few days. Rachel suggests they choose a temporary leader. Of course, as always, Axe abstains from the vote. Basically, by process of elimination, the choices are Rachel or Marco. They put it to a vote. Marco knows he's going to lose, just lets Rachel go for it. Rachel, our new supreme leader, is now unable to sleep, her mind whirring with all the ideas and the responsibilities. She ponders all the different things Jake has told her about the disadvantages of being a leader. We've sat through enough Jake books at this point, I won't dwell on it. Thankfully though, Tobias shows up at her window like Romeo, here to interrupt an existential crisis. You think I'm right? I pressed. I'm the one for the job. I'm the one, right? Nothing. Very awkward moment in any bird-human relationship. But no time to stick on that issue, there's morphing to be done. We start the plan in the alley behind the TV studio. Rachel suggests they go in as battle morphs straight away, but Marco suggests going in a small morph to check it out first. The downside of that, as Rachel points out, is that they would then have to get to human on the inside. Rachel's not loving this dissension. She tells everyone, no, we're getting into battle morphs now, nobody argue, but also try not to hurt anyone. And so they break through the door, charge onto the set, and generally start, if not hurting, terrorising people. What the? Get those animals out of here. Ah, Christine Kaminsky, our favourite Yeerkish morning news personality. So the Animorphs in typical form start trying to tear the place apart while not hurting anybody. Unfortunately, at that same moment, a tour group, including children, kind of walks onto the set. Tobias urges them to leave as there are now too many innocent people around for this to be a good idea. But Rachel wants to keep going. Then, oh no, a vague voice from the cluster of onlookers, someone help, and Grandpa! Add to the escalating peril that Axe has made it to the control room, but he's being held at bay by a human with a gun that he doesn't want to hurt, but the human might want to hurt him. Time to make their way out of there. Marco grabs the anchor woman, controller Yeerk, and tells her they have a message for Visser 3, and it's just go home. He releases the woman, and not 5 minutes after they entered in, the Animorphs escape in battle morphs. I can't believe we had a live audience, Cassie said, laughing. It was more than we could have hoped for, in one way. Suddenly she didn't seem so sure. Maybe it would have been better if we'd known they were in the building. Gotten them out first somehow. And everyone has a moment of silence where they all think about what they've done and how much harm they may indeed have caused. But Rachel shakes off the guilt because they've got a job to do. Next stop on the tour. Time to head to the bookshop. So now we're in the alley behind a bookshop where the manager is a Yeerk. They're going to do the same thing again. 5 minutes, in and out, battle morphs, do the thing, cause some chaos. Just get out of the kids section, Marco, Cassie warned. What's the matter with you? Go up front and trash the computer magazines or something. Man, I hate this. Bookstores are like a church or something. I do agree. I like the idea that the grandfather can fall down and we're like, oh no, oops, well, that was bad. But at the moment we're destroying books, they're like, this is unacceptable. After scarring a child who will never see Curious George in the same way after seeing Marco, Rachel makes her way over to the store manager. I squeezed him tight, crushing the air from his lungs. His face was inches from my muzzle. He was shaking and gasping for air. I squeezed harder till the veins in his neck stood out. We know you, Yeerk. All of you. There's no safety anymore. Jake is never going to leave them on their own again. Next stop is Stylerific, a hair salon owned by Mrs. Chapman, who, as we know, is a controller, as his husband, the vice principal. Or she owns it, so there's almost certainly a Yeerk in charge. It's not entirely clear. They head on through. The receptionist is so bored she barely notices the bear. Barely. After that, they go to the sporting goods store, do the same again. I do want to know the strategic importance of the EX owning these shops, but I won't ask too many questions. They hit the bank, which is something I thought they would have been tempted to do earlier. I think if these were slightly more amoral children, they would have done a bank robbery by now. They then chase after Chapman, who they spot heading into a cigar lounge. Again, she delivers the same message, telling the Yeeks to go home. Rachel is riding high on all the things they've managed to achieve that day. They've hit a gym, a Kinko's. They've avoided the police station because there's just too many weapons there. Let's leave that one be. They split up, planning to meet back again in about half an hour or so at the community centre that we mentioned a few books ago. I figured we'd find a whole bunch of high-ranking controllers gathering there to panic and plan, maybe even the Visser himself. No doubt he'd been contacted by now, told about the total chaos the Andalite bandits were causing. It was a dangerous place to attack, so many controllers in a concentrated area. And here they would have Hawk-Bajir shock troops, a very different proposition from scaring off civilians and roughing up human controllers. I wasn't sure exactly what we'd do when we got there, but I knew I'd figure out something. I was Rachel, hero, warrior, and interim king. This is a fine attitude to have. There is certainly a lot of chaos in town, and they stop next to an electronics store and just watch the TV in the windows for a bit, where the news reports that grandfather at the studio did indeed die. This is where you insert that TikTok sound that's like, I know it ain't the consequences of my actions. So only Cassie and Rachel have seen this, but Cassie, because she is a good person, tells Rachel she has to tell the others or Cassie is telling them. And Rachel also knows that she has to, so she tells the others that a man did in fact die. Tobias is not happy with Rachel. He'll give her a status report, but that is all he is telling her. I mean, he was the one who insisted they get out of there while Rachel said they should stay. I mean, I'd be angry too. You know what? I went on. The Yeeks are spooked. We've got them right where we want them. Good. Great. Mission accomplished, Marco snapped. But no, they need to strike whatever Yeeks are in this community centre, hopefully the Visser himself. Tobias can see some sort of emergency meeting going on in the back rooms. He can't see the Visser, but that doesn't mean he isn't there. Everyone, other than Rachel, seems pretty convinced that going in is not the best plan. There could be all sorts of Hawk-Bajir, they don't know really what they're doing. They've probably done enough, let's just wait until Jake comes back, please? But of course, Rachel insists they cannot quit now, they need to go ahead with the plan. Marco says he'll go in, but only to do some surveillance and check things out. They are not attacking, they do not want to get captured. No one says no to Jake, I challenged. Suddenly I'm leader, so it's okay to be all rebellious and mutiny? I don't think so. You chose me as leader. I got us through today, okay? Didn't I? Didn't I? A man died, Rachel. Unusually, Tobias agrees. They did choose Rachel. They have to follow through with their decision and obey what she says to do. Rachel even suggests everyone goes in maximum power as polar bears. Marco disagrees. Their battle morphs are fine. They know how to use them. But Rachel, no, I'm in charge. I want to do polar bears. Partly for the spectacle of it all, I don't know, they get to polar bear morph. Tobias lumbered forward, each step like a human's, the heel of each massive paw touching the ground before the toes. Remember everyone, he said blandly, these are humans. Controllers, but humans all the same. We're here to scare them, not to hurt or to kill. Bit late for that, even though it was a somewhat indirect murder. And so they head in, leaving their usual trail of destruction, broken windows, appliances in their wake. Tobias does indeed call out a warning, there are Hawk-Bajir here. Rachel barely bats an eyelid, they can take them. She is convinced that they'll win. They'll have taken out all the controllers in this room before they've even noticed, and then they'll be out of there. But then the Garrotron turns up, moving at a speed Rachel can barely see. Marco's down, Cassie's down, Rachel's shot in the stomach before she can do anything about it. And then her neck is wrenched around by the inspector. I have seen enough. I leave you to clean up the mess, my dear Visser. And, embarrassingly, Rachel is struck down in front of a dozen Hawk-Bajir, 20 human controllers, and everyone's favourite villain, Visser 3. The Visser begins to morph into a horrifying alien morph. The phrase, flaps of stinking flesh, are used. Let's leave it there. Too hot. Can't breathe. And, guys, I'm bleeding pretty bad, said Tobias. Perhaps we should have chosen our usual battle morphs, Axe said unnecessarily, his voice grim. We are all one thing, with no flexibility. We must withdraw. Rachel says she'll hold off the Visser while the others go out of the window. She throws herself at the strange, flesh monster. Fool of an Andalite, the Visser laughed. You have failed even to bruise the flesh of this admittedly foul creature. Your efforts to damage this body are futile. He's got to use the words fools every time he appears, at least a couple of times, else he loses his villain status. Rachel isn't doing great in this battle, but she can't spot the others, which surely must mean they escaped. She makes it outside, she sees Marco, Tobias and Axe, but not Cassie. Cassie is indeed still inside, and she only has 75 minutes left in morph. Rachel starts to cry, which Marco isn't having, but Axe yells at them that they need to pull themselves together and come up with a plan. This is slightly later in Cassie's barn, just so we know. Rachel, to be fair, did think that Cassie was out, but there's no time to play the blame game. They need to do do something before the Yeerks infest Cassie and force her to demorph. Which could have already happened, for all they know. Marco snorted. Shouldn't we let our new fearless leader decide the next move? She's been just fantastic with strategy so far. I, for one, am impressed. I mean, I might be with Marco here. A little bit less mean, but I don't disagree. Axe steers us back on course so he still won't look at Rachel. They probably took Cassie to the Yeerk pool. Tobias stretched and refolded his wings. Rachel's our leader, Axe. We might not be thrilled with that decision right now, but we're the ones who made it. I think we should take responsibility for it. Stick with it. Weird loyalty things going in this one, and I'm filming this on the day that Boris Johnson has resigned, so it's feeling very odd. Like, I have feelings. If Jake was making these choices, would we be so angry at him? But would Jake make these choices? It's hard to say. Rachel desperately wants to give up her leadership. She realises she's not doing great at it. But no, they say she has to stick with it. They made a decision, they can follow through. Because sometimes, yes, leaders make mistakes. Rachel says she's going to go down to the Yeerk pool alone. It's the only way to make this right. Marco, unsurprisingly, isn't on board with this plan either. I'm going alone. That's final. Look, Cassie went down there alone when she had to. When the rest of us were totally incapacitated, Marco shot back. Different situation. She had no choice. You do. And that makes Rachel quit, saying Marco should have been the interim leader all along. But Marco follows her out of the barn to convince her otherwise. Jake never walks out, never quits. Yeah, well, goody for St. Jake. You're the one who didn't want me in charge. Why not just take your big victory and be happy? The Animorphs are all yours till the almighty Jake comes home. But this isn't Marco's mission, and even if it was, who's to say he wouldn't also have messed up? Marco argues that they do not have time to come up with a good plan. Right now, what they need, what is essential to this situation, is no holes barred, just go in and fight everyone Rachel. They have 1 hour left to save Cassie and to save the human race. Rachel goes back in and she asks Tobias if he's found any new Yeerk pool entrances. They know about the gap changing room, they know about McDonald's, they know about the play tunnel, but there has to be something new. There could be one in this new office building that's being built that so far has no tenants and the floor plans are really weird. They have 65 minutes left. That's not enough time for them to get in through the building, not unless they had a bug fighter or something. Which they don't, unless Rachel's next incredibly weird plan works. Cut to them at nearby Morgan Airport, where private jets are. Yep, we're going there. They scramble over barbed wire fences, find themselves being chased by security with big dogs. They run and Rachel darts onto one of the planes, which thankfully Axe will be able to fly. That's part of the plan. But Axe demorphs to Andalite, ready for when they are indeed going to leap out of the plane. They have guards running towards them as Axe starts taxiing towards the runway. He has to swerve to miss a deer at the exact wrong moment. It's all going terribly wrong. They have one more chance to take off, but if it all goes wrong, they lose Cassie, but of course, because we're nearing the end of the book, they do indeed succeed and get that plane in the air. Marco starts morphing and opens the door of the plane so the others in bird morph can fly out, in some cases finishing their bird morphs in the air. Because yes, they fly the plane into the roof of the tower, making it open so they can fly down into the Yeerk pool. In case you were wondering, yes, this was published before 2001. Through the flames of the building, Rachel flies down to the Yeerk pool, following in the path of the flaming jet that is also falling down there, which unsurprisingly, confuses the Yeerks down in the Yeerk pool. In all of that chaos, no one really notices the birds flying in as well. They're too busy shoving everyone who doesn't currently have a Yeerk in their head into the cages. Rachel spies Polar Bear Cassie surrounded by Hawk-Bajir and manacled up. She has maybe between 5 and 15 minutes left in morph, so Rachel calls out to her in private thought-speak to get her warned and ready. It's madness. One bald eagle against all of those Hawk-Bajir, but Rachel goes for it anyway, talons extended. All the while, Cassie is morphing slowly in a way that only Cassie can, so she can slip her hands and legs out of the manacles. And then, once out, she reverses the process, going back to full polar bear. No one will know she is in fact a human woman. Surprised to see me, I asked. Sky falling in, flames everywhere, Yeerks running for cover. Who else would it be but you? BFFs. Hawk-Bajir keep coming, and Rachel's only plan is to stop them somehow. Then Visser 3 calls out, and everyone stops. You are very lucky to be here today, Inspector. We have captured another Andalite traitor for your entertainments. No, not good. No, Cassie agreed. The Visser and the Inspector turn up, and the Visser even offers the Inspector the chance to kill one of the Andalite bandits. Mainly because he wants to prove to the Inspector that it isn't as easy as he thinks it is, and that's why the Visser hasn't succeeded despite it being 37 books now. I mean, if the Visser just fired a Draken Beam right now, we'd be done. Like, the series would end, the Yeerks would win. I don't know. Rachel is on Cassie's back, the Inspector knocks her off, Cassie's trying to fight with some chains, it's not going very well, and then Tobias swoops in to save the day. Drink if you're playing the drinking game, Tobias saves the day again. Down they come, the Hawk, the Harrier, and the Cobra. The Cobra is another morph we haven't seen in a long time. Nice to see it. Aha, Visser 3! Why, here are a few more Andalite bandits coming now, he boomed. Are you feeling up to the challenge, Inspector? You must call me Counselor. Oh, I will, you may be sure. sassy villain dialogue. Visser 3 sends some Hawkbush to maybe help the Inspector, maybe hinder him, but the Inspector is too busy focused on Axe demorphing to Andalite and the birds attacking him and so such. And Marco as a snake manages to get the Inspector. But still, the Garrotron ran. Oh no, Cassie said, what if the venom doesn't have an effect on the Garrotron? Which would not be good at all, especially for Axe, who is directly in the Inspector's path, but he does seem to be slowing down. Are you experiencing a problem, my dear Inspector? Visser 3 boomed, his voice dripping phony concern. While the Visser gloats, Rachel instructs Cassie to leap into the yak pool and immediately morph to bird. While these two villains are having a macho time being macho, they need to escape. As the Visser gloats more, they make it out the same way they made it in. Their sense of triumph didn't last. It never does. Real life is complicated. It gets in the way of nice, simple emotions. I went to see the old man's grandson. A heavy jump cut there. Seems as though the old man had a history of heart problems and he really could have gone at any time, but that doesn't really make Rachel feel that much better. As she heads out the old man's house, she runs into Jake, who is back. Yeah. He's heard some of the story from Cassie and Marco, but he'd really like to hear what Rachel has to add. Jake comforts Rachel with the fact that there are still as many Animorphs as when they started, which is a win in his book. We failed to get rid of the Visser. Like Tobias said, we're back to the evil we know. Jake laughed. Yeah, well, Rachel, the Visser's hard to get rid of. Doesn't mean we stopped trying, he added. If they gave up every time they didn't manage to defeat the Visser, this would be a very short series. Rachel, once again, I feel like we've done this before, she asks Jake how he does what he does, making the decisions that he has to make. It's a war, he said. We do what we have to do because we're forced to do it, right? Someday it will all be over. Someday the Andalites will come. Or the Ix will decide we're not worth it. Someday we'll win. She does see something in his face that seems to suggest it is getting to him though. And the book ends with Rachel asking Jake never to go away again. And I have to say, I kind of agree. And that is Animorphs 37. Ugh, flumph. That wasn't, again, not a particularly fun one, just sort of Rachel being a chaos beast and Jake not being there. I don't know. We're in a phase of we can't make too many big changes before we get to the final arc. It's just where we are. I have actually read up to Animorphs 40, so I have a lot of secret knowledge that you don't yet know, but you'll have to subscribe to find out. As ever, if you want to come chat Animorphs, you can do so on the dedicated Animorphs channel on my Discord, which is linked down in the description. I also have a Twitter if you want to follow that. If you would like to get access to videos early, including some Animorphs videos, hopefully by the time this is up, I will have got ahead somewhat on that. You can check out my Patreon, which is also linked below. Thank you to everyone who already supports the channel in this way. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. There's gonna be some bloopers now. Visser 3 steps out of the blade shaft. Look, in the last book we encountered... Ignore that bit, editing Judith, thank you. Whew. Right, one more bit.